Jaguar, a brand that is often overlooked, possibly because they've built quite the reputation for dodgy quality and reliability. But for the XE, is there any truth to these vicious accusations, or are we to believe the fans and accept that this is one of the most underrated used cars money can buy? Let's find out. Now, the XE is Jaguar's compact luxury sedan, and it was produced to take on the likes of the Mercedes-Benz C-Class, the BMW 3 Series, and the Audi A4. But there's much more to it than that. Here's a quick guide. So the XE first appeared back in 2015, and after updates for the 2018 and 2020 years, it's still a current model. Engine-wise, they have been spread across 4-cylinder turbo petrol and turbo diesel units, featuring different states of tune. A petrol-powered supercharged 6-cylinder engine has also been available, again with a couple of different power outputs, as well as a very, very special V8. We never received the V8 here in Australia. Boo! However, the V6 and the Diesel 4 were axed in 2019, and while the vast majority of XEs on the used market power exclusively the rear wheels, all-wheel drive variants are also out there. Trim spec-wise, and here in Australia and pre the 2020 update, the XE was spread across primarily 4 variants, with a special edition thrown in to liven things up. This resulted in nearly a dozen different variants of the XE when combined with different engine options. But post the 2020 update, Jaguar simplified the range to 2 variants, both featuring the Ingenium 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine. That simplification of the range was most welcomed, but like any fancy manufacturer worth its weight in brand image, the XE could also be optioned with a host of different accessories and equipment packs. And because of all that, there is no way that we could cover every specific detail in this video. But the good news is we have over at ReDriven.com on our completely free ReDriven cheat sheets. Basically, think of them as like the ultimate used Jaguar XE buyer's guide. Now, something that we do need to talk about are the looks. Ian Callum, we applaud you. Now, if you don't know who Ian Callum is, think of what Michael Jordan is to basketball. That's what Ian is to automotive design. He designed this, and he also designed all of these things. Mate, well done. For me, the proportions are pretty close to perfect. Plus, there's all these like little design highlights like everywhere to keep your eye interested. And even like this is like a base spec version of this car, but in the metal, it just looks fantastic. Now, we need to say a massive thank you to Fast & Finance for supporting this video. The team at Fast & Finance have over 30 lenders working hard to find you guys the best possible finance deal. But why finance through them? Well, see, the problem with getting financed through like a dealer or a bank is that you're quite often limited to their products and their rates. Fast & Finance can tailor a loan just for you, for your needs in your vehicle. They can help with new cars, used cars, classic cars, and even grey imports. Plus, finance your car through the link in the description, and you'll get a $250 fuel voucher. Now, back to the Jag. And those sexy looks continue inside because it is bloody lovely in here. This design is incredible. And you don't simply just sit in a Jaguar XE, you kind of like sink down into it like it's a bathtub made of lovely English leather. Honestly, it feels more like sitting in a sports car than a sedan, but there are a few little issues in here. Build quality wise, that's my knee rubbing up against the center console and the whole thing kind of moves a little bit. Even as far as the materials that they've used, like obviously the materials are going to improve if you go a newer model and a higher spec, but like it just doesn't feel, I don't know, as like premium as some of the competition. Like even in terms of ergonomics, there's just some weird ones. Like if you want to put your arm up here, that's kind of a little bit hard and very, very high. Down here, but the armrest doesn't come out quite far enough. So if you want to lean your arm there, you have to kind of lean into the door. So ergonomics are interesting. In saying that, then there are really smart ergonomics, like these little raised sections on the steering wheel that control your cruise control and your volume settings. They're just so intuitive to use. When you're driving along, you just reach down, feel for the little raised lip thing there and make your adjustments. It's good, but not good in some other ways. Now, as far as wear and tear in this car goes, this is this owner's everyday driver. It hasn't done 100,000 Ks yet, but wear and tear is interesting. So the leather's not too bad. It's starting to show a bit of wear, like some of the actual texture is starting to disappear. Steering wheel has gone really shiny. That might be able to be restored. And not only that, the seat, I don't know if you can hear this. The seat's squeaking down there somewhere. Not ideal. Again, with manufacturers with gloss black plastics, yes, it looks fantastic, but it gets marked up so easily. But already, like, there's, you know, there's little scratches forming and it's showing a bit of wear and tear. Door cards are okay. It's all right. Like, honestly, I was expecting better wear and tear for such low kilometers, but not slow kilometers, but yeah, you know what I mean. Now, in terms of practicality up front, you've got a spot perfectly sized and designed for your phone there. 2 cup holders here, a little bit of a storage bin just there. Okay sized glove box. You've got door bins, but they're a bit small and a bit oddly placed, so they're not really good for anything except junk. Spot for, you know, fingernails and flesh and bits of hair just here. And I think for the front, that's about it for practicality. Oh, spot for your sunglasses up there. Oh, hey, what sunglasses does this man wear? He wears, if we can get these out, these are Oakley's. Well done, Tom. Now in the back, measuring from the nose to the base of the tail, I'm exactly 3 centimeters shorter than the largest Jaguar ever recorded. This is in my driving position, and it's interesting. So there's a decent amount of knee room, and up, you know, sort of above waist height, it feels fine. It's a little bit, you know, claustrophobic because this, you know, this roof line is quite low, but there's hardly any foot room. Like, my feet feel like they're actually like in a shoebox. Plus, the transmission tunnel is huge, so I'd hate to sit in the middle if you had legs or, you know, over the age of 5. Even the seats, they're kind of comfortable, but yeah, it's okay. Wear and tear back here is okay. It doesn't get used a whole lot, but already the leather's kind of, again, going a bit, kind of losing its texture. There's a few marks on the door cards in this particular car. Obviously, every car is going to be a little bit different, but yeah, it's okay. Just the materials used just don't feel as premium as the competition. And then as far as practicality in the second row, you've got a spot here that you'd think's for a phone, but it's not really. It's not really big enough for anything. You do have your own air vents there. You've got a couple of map pockets or nets in the back in case you go fishing and you need to put your fish somewhere. There's a couple of storage bins in the doors, but they're really small and yeah, I don't know what you're going to use in there. And then you also have an armrest with a couple of cup holders there. That's actually pretty comfortable. Then in the boot, okay, it actually has one of the smallest boots in its class. Not only that, the actual opening aperture is oddly shaped, a bit small, so it can be a challenge to get decent sized things in and out. Plus the seats, some of them do fold, other ones don't. Now, as we mentioned, there have been a whole host of different trim specs over the years, all offering different levels of tech and equipment, all that sort of stuff. But even in its earliest and most basic form, so a 2015 20D Prestige, the interior is drenched in leather trim. It has keyless entry and start 18-inch alloys and an 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system with Bluetooth and an excellent sounding Meridian sound system. But at the other end of the spectrum, if you go for a far more recent and top spec car, like say a 2020 R-Spec HSE, you can expect Touch Pro Duo infotainment system featuring Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, displayed through a larger infotainment touchscreen. Plus there's the digital instrument cluster, genuine Windsor leather upholstery, configurable driving modes, and a host of unique styling elements. Again, guys, for all these specific details of which XE gets what stuff, just jump on ReDriven.com and check out that cheat sheet. But when it comes to the technology and actually using it, look, I like to think of myself as being pretty tech savvy. It's pretty intuitive, it does the job, it doesn't feel anything special, but I have had a couple of problems with the Bluetooth dropping out. And there might be bigger issues afoot when it comes to the infotainment system, but we'll get to that in a moment. Now, in terms of safety, NCAP tested this thing back in 2015 and awarded it a perfect 5-star result. But to take you through all the safety features that you can expect, we're going to do another voiceover, but this time we're going to have my classiest of my English mates do it.
From launch, they included autonomous emergency braking. Alternatively, you could just keep your own mince pies on the Toby. It also had self-parking. Me, what sort of Jaffa needs help parking? I had none of this pony and trap in my Rover. It also has blind spot monitoring with cross traffic alert and lane departure warnings across the entire range. I mean, seriously, if you need that lot to stay out of the Barney rubble, you are having a bubble bath, ain't ya? Right, let's talk about later and higher spec models. They can also include a selection of advanced safety features like autonomous emergency braking. There it is again. And if you can't be bothered to use your mirrors or look over your shoulder, for instance, it'll also tell you if there's something in your blind spot. Now, let me give you a lump of ice. If you need all this Ben Cartwright to keep you out of any Barney rubble, you're a right dental flosser. Back to you, Adam, you old dish.
Again, for the full breakdown of all the tech and the safety features and everything that these come with, just jump on ReDriven.com, check out the cheat sheet. It has everything you're going to need to know. So when these were brand new, Jaguar pitched them as being the best driver's car in its class, and that's a hell of a claim when you consider some of the competition. But after all of these years, does it still match up to those claims? Well, to find out, let's break this down into chapters.
Power.
Now, this is the least powerful of the XE range, featuring a diesel engine. And it's fine. It's a little bit doughy here and there. It's not an inspiring performance car engine by any means, but it gets the job done. And then there's the transmission that, it's better in dynamic or sport mode, but it's just a bit slow on the uptake. There's these really frustrating moments where you put your foot down if you're trying to make a bit of a quick getaway, and it's just kind of going, huh? What? Oh, a gear, sure, let's go.
Ride and handling.
Now, this is where any disappointments with the engine or the transmission are quickly forgiven, because this thing is so genuinely enjoyable to steer. It turns in like a performance car. The ride quality, these are pretty crappy roads, but it just sits so flat, gives you so much confidence. Honestly, it is just so enjoyable and so much fun to throw through some twisty corners. But even though the car turns in really well, I do wish the steering had a bit more feel to it. I know this is delving into typical car journalist wanker speak, but it just a bit more nuance and tactility would be nice. God, I sound like a wanker. Sorry.
Sound.
Well, the stereo sounds really good. The engine note is okay, but then you're distracted by quite a few rattles and squeaks. As I said before, the seat kind of squeaks, but then there's also a rattle coming from up here somewhere, and there's something over that way as well.
Other stuff.
Now, because you sink into the driving position, there's a bit of a problem with visibility. First of all, the A-pillars, because of the rake of it and the size of it, there's a hell of a blind spot there. I actually nearly hit an elderly lady this morning at an intersection because of that A-pillar. And then out the back, the aperture of the window is quite small, so rear visibility is a little bit of a challenge as well. Probably hence why it's got cameras and parking sensors all over it. And look, overall, even though this is the base spec XE, there's something special about driving a Jaguar, which is not something that can always be said about owning a Jaguar. Currently, pricing here in Australia for the XE kicks off from around about $25,000. That's for a 2015 20D Prestige. But remember, that car when brand new was asking around about $65,000. So that's just a mere $40,000 loss to depreciation in just 8 years. But at the other end of the spectrum, something like a 2022 top spec in absolutely mint condition, around about $95,000. Depending on the year and the engine and the spec and the layout, all that sort of stuff, Jaguar claims a consumption figure that ranges from 4.2 litres per 100 Ks to 8.1. This particular car is a 4.2 claimed car, but it's actually seeing 6.6. Okay, so is there any truth to the rumours that these things are riddled with issues? Actually, before we get to that, a massive shout out and thank you to all the Jaguar and XE owners groups. You guys have been fantastic with helping us with the research for this video. Couldn't have done it without you, legends. But now we have to break a lot of those XE owners club members' hearts, because we have to do this. What goes wrong with the XE? Starting with the exterior, there have been plenty of complaints about panel gaps just not lining up correctly. Kind of like this. It's pretty wide there, not very wide there. And also the heights are slightly different as well. Next up, electrical gremlins. Things like the power windows, the door lock actuators, the power mirrors. Basically, if it has electricity running to it, make sure it works, because sometimes it doesn't. But potentially worst of all, although it's not exactly a common problem, there are reports that the brake lights can fail. It's really easily fixed, but just don't brake. Also, there are reports that the reversing cameras can fail. They can just show a blue or a completely black screen. Just glitch out in general. Now, there are a whole bunch of telltale signs to show if the car you're looking at has been mistreated. And let's be honest here, buying a used car can be a pretty complex procedure. But to make that so much easier for you, we've made the ultimate used car buyer's guide. The link is up here and down there in the description. Guys, please watch that before buying not just an XE, but any used car, because it could save you a fortune. Now inside, unfortunately, the electrical gremlins can continue. We're talking about things like the needles just swinging up and down randomly, buttons and controls not working, even the speakers making harsh and horrible sounds. We're not even talking about country music. Unbelievably, even worse than that. Okay, now these infotainment systems. Guys, These things are so incredibly bad that they've actually resulted in a class action lawsuit. Seriously. Now, many Jaguar owners, I actually have to refer to the iPad for this, many Jaguars claim that these are so dangerously defective that they won't respond to user commands, they won't start, and they have blank display screens. And it continues. Audio and video errors can cause a distracted driver, and occupant safety is at risk when the backup cameras, heating and cooling systems, and hands-free calling systems fail or freeze. Jaguar also allegedly has not found a solution to the problems and either replaces the defective vehicle parts with equally defective parts or advises vehicle owners just to wait for a forthcoming software update to fix the problems that never arrives. Well done, Jaguar. Now guys, before we get into mechanically what can go wrong with these things, look, if you haven't already, can you please hit that subscribe button, maybe the like button, and share our content, because the more you do of that stuff, the more of this content we can make for you. Okay, now this bit's going to be interesting. Mechanically, what goes wrong with the Jaguar XE? I can't tell you. I'm not a qualified mechanic. Jim certainly is.
Up till 2017, the 4-cylinder 2-litre petrol they used was actually the Ford EcoBoost engine. And in that 4-cylinder EcoBoost family, the 2-litre was definitely the one to get. The bottom end of that engine had a closed deck block, and it didn't have anywhere near as many complications with head gaskets like the Mustang and the RS Focus. And for better or worse, but mostly worst, from 2018 onwards, they replaced the EcoBoost with their own Ingenium 4-cylinder petrol. It has a much more complicated timing chain and valve train system, and it's also that engine's weak point, with timing chain stretching complications and tensioner blowouts and guide breakages, you name it, they have it. And just for shits and giggles, these things were designed with the timing chain at the back of the engine. So when it's in a rear-wheel drive application, like the XE, to fix the timing chains properly, you've either got to take the gearbox out or the engine out. Both the petrol and the diesel are the same in that regard, but the diesel also has a bunch of problems with EGR valves and DPF complications. Now, the supercharged V6 petrol, and a fun fact about that engine, it is almost the same casting as the V8 engine, just with the back 2 cylinders blanked off, which is genius for, saving costs, but it's actually weird. It is more reliable than the 4-cylinder Ingenium engines, which really isn't saying much. They too have timing chain complications, they have camshaft issues, they can actually break in half, and they also have supercharger complications. Now in these engines, those problems are less common than the 4-cylinders, and they're also less common in really well serviced examples. Now here's the problem with the servicing. Most people think they are doing a great job servicing these, but some of them are set up on really long service intervals, like 26,000 Ks and up, which is madness. Look, no engine, even with long life oil, is ever going to last with ridiculous service intervals like that. You've got to do it every 10,000 Ks. The 8-speed automatic transmissions, well, they are a version of the ZF gearbox, which is found in a bunch of rear-wheel drive applications, BMWs, 5th gen Supra, some Jeeps, and also some Rams. So they're very widely used, and they are also considered to be very reliable. They do have a few solenoid and valve body issues and the occasional clutch pack complication, but typically overall very reliable. And to keep the transmissions reliable, you really have to service them fairly often. The recommended service interval on these is something like 234,000 Ks, which again is utter madness. Do it more frequently, at least every 50,000 Ks or even every 100,000 Ks, when you replace the engine.
Okay, so after all of that, should you buy one? Look, even though that what goes wrong section does sound mildly terrifying, there are plenty of XE owners out there, just like my mate Tom that owns this particular car, that have never had a problem. But that doesn't mean you should buy one. For us, the risk of things, and all sorts of things going horribly wrong, are just too high, as is the cost and time involved in repairing them. And if the XE was some sort of immensely unique, rare and ultra special car, the potential problems might be worth the stress to your wallet and mental state. But sorry, excluding the bonkers Project 8, this car simply isn't special enough. Look, it is a bloody nice car, but so is a Lexus IS, which offers an incredibly similar set of skills. Sure, it doesn't have the English charm that this does, but there's far less chance of things going horribly wrong with it. Look, if you're talking about a near new XE with a full factory warranty, or you're buying one because you're a hardcore Jaguar fan and you just love the idea of tinkering and fixing one as a hobby, and you've got money and time to burn, yeah, great, buy one. But for the rest of us, nope. Sorry, Tom, mate, bloody nice car, but I'm really worried you shouldn't have bought it. So guys, a question for you. Do you buy one of these still, or do you get something German like an Audi A4 or a BMW 3 Series or a Mercedes C-Class, or maybe a Kia Stinger GT, or maybe the Lexus IS? Let us know in the comments. See you next time. Look, basically, if it has electric... me. Here we go.
And for better or worse, but mostly worst, why do I keep putting a T on the end of worst? 2018 onwards, they used their own Ingenium 4-cylinder. I can't do that again, that was shite. Okay.
Plus there's the digital instrument cluster, genuine Windsor leather upholstery, screen. Here we go, this is the one. Mechanically, what goes wrong with the Jaguar XE? I would love to tell you, but I can't. Oh, God. Okay, so this... Come on. Okay, so first up, when you've...